Impact happens fast, in an instant. Your viewer needs to notice the most important thing in your frame. If they do notice it, chances are higher that they will stick around longer to find the deeper meanings in your images. These are the 5 guides I follow to grab the viewer's attention and to convey one clear message. I'm Rafael, and welcome to the channel. I realize that there are thousands of ways to create impact with images. There is no right way, or you should do this or do that, but there are things in images that have captured my attention, and I focus on those and strive to keep them in mind every time I pick up the camera. They are brightness, size, sharpness, color, and space. Now, focal length choice and composition choice obviously play a huge part in how we make our photos interesting and impactful. I personally use these guides to help see what the viewer may see when they look at an image for the first instant. I'm always chasing punctum and studium, that thing that you can't really put your finger on, but it makes you want to look at an image in more detail. When shooting, I ask myself, will this capture the attention of the viewers instantly? And will they understand what the main focus of the image is about? Will they see and feel as I am seeing and feeling right now as I'm taking this picture? It's really about capturing instant intrigue, especially in today's world where so many are distracted by a constant flow of imagery. Let's go over the 5 guides that I keep in mind. First one is brightness. We as humans are attracted to shiny things. This really focuses on the contrast of luma between the subject and the surroundings. Our brains are well tuned to finding the brightest thing in an image. Take a bright subject on a dark background, the eye immediately goes for the brightest part. This is what I mean by the viewer knowing instantly what the subject is with one clear message. This can work just as well when we invert the brightness to achieve the same goal. The contrast is just as high as before, but now the silhouette conveys the focus of the image and can create just as much interest. The size of the main focus of interest plays a huge role in communicating a clear message. What is dominating the frame? Typically, the viewer will first notice the largest thing in the frame. So when looking through the viewfinder, I ask myself, is this what I want the viewer to notice first? If there is something larger in the frame, I know that typically the viewer will look there first. So keep that in mind when composing your images moving forward. Sharpness, just like brightness, our brains look for the most in-focus point. And if the brightest object and the sharpest object are the same, it's almost instant for the viewer. Even if there are larger objects in the frame that are out of focus, the viewers will look past them. It's how the human eye works. When we look past something close to us, it's out of focus. This is how you help the viewer get to the point. If your focus is soft, the viewer will subconsciously keep searching for the focal point. This is where you can play with focus as well. Add more or less, but keep in mind that a too shallow depth of field can actually hinder the viewing experience. I've seen many times where I notice the out of focus part instead of focusing on what is actually important. So going wide open all the time isn't necessarily the best thing to do. Many people know that color is another great way to get viewers' attention instantly. I have found that playing with color needs a little bit more of pre-thought. It's a little harder to get an impromptu image that just works with color contrast. But just like brightness, color contrast really grabs the viewer's attention. Isolating colors or the lack of colors, I always look for the opportunity to use color to impact my images. Space in the images can make the subject more interesting. It can be used to draw the attention to the subject with leading lines, or it can be used to enhance the story of the subject. Where the subject is placed in the space can also draw the eye, either with lots of space or very little space around the subject. As long as the subject is the clear focus and there isn't anything that distracts you from the subject. I know that this falls into the realm of composition, but it is much more than that. I approach it from the surroundings. I look at the space around and how it can affect the meaning of the image and how the viewer will see that in that first instant. Will it be dramatic enough for them to pay attention? Does the environment dwarf the subject? Or is the subject surrounded and confined in the frame? These two aspects have very different meanings to the viewer and their initial response to seeing the image. Also, there are many times as photographers, we get greedy trying to jam too much into the frame. And this can make the frame very distracting and the viewer doesn't know where to focus on instantly. So instead of grabbing their attention, the viewer passes that image by. and it doesn't allow the viewer that instant of knowing what to focus on. So be deliberate in what is actually in the frame. It all comes down to removing distractions and being clear on the focus of the image. And I don't mean what's in focus, I mean what the viewer needs to know is the most important thing in the frame. Using all the above guides helps me capture images that I feel are more interesting. If you actually think about it, these are the same techniques that YouTubers use to make eye-catching thumbnails. There is a flip side to all of this though. Sometimes having soft focus and a bit underexposed, or the lack of color and use of less space, can capture and pique the viewer's interest far better than any technically accurate photo out there. Ultimately, there are infinite ways to capture images that you like. And the more you shoot, the more you will find your style that works for you. So get out there and just shoot. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And here's a video where I deep dive into framing and composition. Also, I live stream on my second channel, so make sure you check that out. As always, thanks for watching.